The announcement echoed through the terminal. Flight 307 to Vienna, final boarding call. The crowd moved like a restless tide, voices blending into a hum of hurried goodbyes and soft promises. Amid the blur of people, Lena stood still. Her fingers gripped the handle of a small brown suitcase, its leather worn at the edges, a faint scratch shaped like a heart, barely visible near the lock. She had run her thumb over that mark 1,000 times. Tonight, it felt like a scar. Her eyes followed the man across the glass barrier. He laughed, the kind of laugh that once belonged to her. A woman beside him fixed his collar, tenderly brushing a speck from his shoulder. The gesture was small, ordinary, and it shattered something inside Lena that had already been cracking for months. The air smelled of jet fuel and rain. Her hair clung to her cheeks, damp from the mist that seeped through the automatic doors each time they opened. She pressed her lips together, fighting the tremor that threatened her composure. The red scarf around her neck fluttered in the draft, a whisper of warmth she no longer felt. She remembered the day he gave it to her. "So you never feel cold again," he'd said. Now it burned against her skin like a lie. A mother rushed past her, calling after a child. A man argued into his phone, pacing, lost in his own urgency. No one noticed the girl standing perfectly still, her gaze locked on a man who no longer turned to look for her. Her phone buzzed once, his name flashing on the screen. She hesitated, thumb hovering. Then silence. The call ended before she could decide. Lena drew in a sharp breath, her heart pounding in her ears. The ache that once begged for closure had turned into something else, something colder, sharper. "You taught me how to love," she thought, "and now you'll learn what it costs." She adjusted the scarf, pulling it tighter around her throat as if anchoring herself. The loudspeaker crackled again. People kept moving. The world went on. But inside her, time had stopped the night she found out the truth. The night the messages appeared, the photos, the betrayal she hadn't wanted to believe. The suitcase handle trembled in her grip. Inside, beneath folded clothes, something heavy rested, something that wasn't there by accident. She took one last look at him. His back was turned. He was boarding, unaware. Lena's eyes softened, but her jaw stayed firm. "Love doesn't die," she whispered under her breath. "It transforms." The crowd swallowed her as she stepped forward, quiet, steady, and unstoppable. And somewhere, the clock above the gate ticked once, then again, like a warning no one heard. Lena sat on the cold metal bench near gate 14, her suitcase beside her, the red scarf resting loosely in her lap. The hum of the airport wrapped around her, announcements, footsteps, laughter. Everyone seemed to belong somewhere. Everyone but her. Across the hall, families reunited in tearful embraces. A little girl leapt into her father's arms, her giggles echoing like a song from a world Lena no longer understood. She smiled faintly, then looked down, tracing the frayed thread at the corner of her scarf. She'd once told herself love would make her stronger. Her father had warned her otherwise. "Kindness is your gift, Lena," he'd said years ago, as they packed her things for college. "But don't hand it to someone who'll use it as a weapon." She'd laughed then, hugging him, dismissing the weight in his tone. Now, his words followed her like a ghost she couldn't shake. Her suitcase sat by her feet, the same one she'd taken when she first left home. Its faded leather had carried dreams once, love letters, paintbrushes, her grandmother's postcards. It now carried nothing but clothes and a small, unmarked envelope hidden in the lining. She hadn't told anyone about that. She caught her reflection in the glass wall opposite, eyes swollen from sleepless nights, lipstick faded, the look of someone who'd loved too deeply and paid the price. A security officer walked past, giving her a brief nod. She smiled, too softly, as if afraid her expression might break apart mid-motion. A man in a charcoal coat sat 2 seats away. He wasn't looking directly at her, but she could feel the quiet pull of his attention. Every few moments, his gaze flickered toward her, steady, unreadable. He didn't speak, and yet his silence seemed to carry questions. She pretended not to notice. Her fingers played with the edge of the scarf again, twisting it absently. It had been snowing the night he gave it to her, Evan, with his charming grin and empty promises. He'd wrapped it around her neck, his breath warm against her ear. "Now you're mine," he'd whispered. She had believed him, not realizing ownership was the first cage. Her phone lit up with a new message. Still time to talk if you want. Her chest tightened. She didn't reply. The stranger stood, adjusting his coat, his movement pulling her eyes up. For a moment, their gazes locked. Something in his expression, concern, maybe recognition, made her heartbeat stumble. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. She hesitated. Her lips parted, but no words came out. The loudspeaker broke the silence again. Flight 307 is now delayed. Lena blinked, unsure if the ache in her chest was relief or fear. She looked toward the gate, toward the man who didn't know what she carried, then back at the stranger. For the first time, she didn't know which direction to move. The rain began softly, thin drops tapping against the wide airport windows like hesitant confessions. The lights flickered once, and the hum of conversation dimmed into a murmur. Lena pulled the red scarf closer, feeling its damp warmth against her throat. The stranger was still there. He'd moved closer, though not enough to seem invasive. He set a cup of coffee on the bench between them, untouched. "You look like you need this more than I do," he said, his tone gentle, almost distant. Lena glanced at the cup, then at him. He was older than she first thought, early 30s, maybe, but something in his eyes looked tired in ways time alone couldn't cause. His shoes were scuffed, soles nearly worn through. The edge of a photograph peeked out from his wallet as he reached into his coat for a tissue, offering it wordlessly when she brushed away the rain from her cheek. She didn't take it, but she looked, really looked, for the first time. The photo showed a woman and a boy, both smiling, sunlight caught in their hair. His thumb covered the corner, as if shielding part of it from her view. "You waiting for someone?" she asked finally. He gave a slow nod. "Was? Not anymore." Their eyes met. The pause that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy, filled with the kind of understanding that didn't need language. She saw something in him, a quiet fracture that mirrored her own. Whatever he'd lost, it lived behind his expression like an old wound that never fully closed. Outside, thunder grumbled low in the distance. The storm was building, though it hadn't yet arrived. The air smelled faintly of metal and wet earth. Lena's phone buzzed again, another message. She didn't look. Instead, she found herself speaking before she decided to. "Do you ever feel like some people destroy you just to see if you'll rebuild the same?" He turned toward her, eyes steady. "And do you?" Then she froze. At the far table sat the stranger. His coat was draped over the chair beside him, a folder open on the table. A security badge lay half hidden under his phone. Her breath caught when she read the name, Daniel Carter. CEO, Evanson International. Evan's company. Her world tilted. He looked up at her slowly, surprise flickering before recognition settled in. "You're Lena, aren't you?" His tone had changed, measured now, professional but still soft. Her lips parted, but no words came. She lowered the suitcase handle mechanically, heart pounding. You're him." He nodded. "I didn't plan for this. I just needed a quiet place to wait, but I recognized the name on the application when I saw your message earlier." She stared at him, pulse roaring in her ears. The envelope inside her suitcase felt heavier now, its contents no longer a secret but a threat. Inside were the documents that proved Evan's betrayal, his company's fraud, the reason Lena had come here tonight. Daniel hesitated, then reached into his wallet again. He unfolded the photograph, smoothing its creases. The little girl's smile, familiar now, gleamed faintly in the light. Around her neck hung the same red scarf. "She was my daughter," he said quietly. Evan's company made the device that failed her. It wasn't an accident. The scarf slipped from Lena's fingers, falling soundlessly to the floor. Her father's words replayed in her mind, sharper now. "Don't hand your kindness to someone who'll use it as a weapon." Tears blurred her vision as Daniel stood. "You came here for answers, didn't you?" Lena swallowed hard. "No," she whispered. "I came here for justice." And as she turned toward the meeting room door, the storm outside began again. This time she didn't flinch. The rain had slowed to a whisper by the time Lena stepped into the glass-walled conference room. The city lights outside shimmered through the mist, ghost-like and trembling. Her suitcase sat by her chair, the red scarf coiled on the table beside the folder she'd guarded for weeks. Daniel entered moments later, his presence quiet but heavy. He placed the photograph, his daughter's photograph, on the table. For a moment, Neither spoke. The silence felt sacred, like standing at the edge of something irreversible. "You were never here for the job," he said at last. "Were you?" Lena shook her head slowly. "No. I came for the truth. For what your company did." His jaw tightened. Evan's company. The name alone was enough to hollow her chest. "You knew," she said. "You knew what he was doing." He exhaled, eyes dark with regret. "I knew too late." He tapped the photo. She was 8. The failure wasn't just technical, it was deliberate cost-cutting. Evan signed the papers. I signed the approval. Her breath hitched. All her plans, her quiet fury, her carefully built vengeance, suddenly faltered beneath the weight of his confession. "Why tell me this now?" she whispered. Daniel looked at her for a long time. Then, softly, "Because you remind me of her. The way you hold your pain, the way you fight through it. I saw her in you at the gate." The words struck deeper than she expected. Not love, not pity, recognition. Lena opened the folder, spreading the documents between them. Proof of fraud, internal emails, signatures. "If this goes public, it ends him," she said. He nodded, unflinching. "It ends me too." She hesitated. Her fingers brushed the scarf, the one his daughter once wore, the one Evan had given her as a twisted token of affection. Now it felt tainted, yet sacred, a circle of deceit and memory bound in red thread. Outside, thunder rolled again, faint but steady. She slid the folder toward him. "Then you end it," she said. "You take it from here. I'm done carrying it." His eyes widened. "You'd walk away? After everything?" She smiled faintly. "Sometimes revenge isn't justice. It's just another way to stay broken." Daniel stared at her, the weight of understanding settling slowly. He reached for the scarf and folded it carefully, placing it in her open palm. "Then let her keep you warm this time," he murmured. The scarf, once a chain, once a curse, now felt lighter. A goodbye, not a reminder. Lena turned toward the window. The planes were taking off again, their lights piercing through the dark sky. The same terminal, the same glass, but this time, she wasn't waiting. Daniel gathered the documents and walked out, leaving the photograph behind. Lena picked it up, tracing the child's smile with her thumb. She slipped it into her coat pocket and walked toward the exit. Outside, the rain had stopped completely, and as she stepped into the quiet night, she thought, "Not every stranger you help is meant to stay, but some leave you changed forever." The morning after the storm was quiet, too quiet. The airport, now half empty, felt like a place between worlds. Lena walked through the corridor slowly, her reflection stretching beside her in the glass, thinner, calmer. She had no destination anymore, no ticket in hand, no plan scribbled on paper. Yet, for the first time, she didn't feel lost. The ache in her chest was still there, but it no longer ruled her, it simply existed, like a scar that had learned to stop bleeding. Outside, the sky was pale gold, clouds breaking apart as light spilled through them. She stepped out into the open air, letting the breeze touch her face. The red scarf fluttered once, then settled gently around her shoulders. It no longer belonged to the past. Later that evening, she unpacked her suitcase in a small rented room near the river. Everything smelled faintly of rain and dust. She opened the drawer beside the bed and laid the scarf inside, folded neatly. The fabric caught a sliver of sunlight from the window, glowing faintly. Neither love nor vengeance now, but remembrance. For a long while, she just sat there, listening to the soft hum of life outside. Somewhere, a child laughed. Somewhere else, a plane lifted off, carrying strangers to new beginnings. Her phone buzzed again, no name this time, just an unknown number. She didn't open it. She didn't need to. Instead, she whispered to the quiet, "Sometimes love is not romance, it's recognition." The words lingered in the still air, tender and true. Recognition of shared wounds, of mirrored grief, of the rare moments when two broken lives cross paths not to stay, but to awaken something sleeping inside the other. Lena rose and opened the window wider. The river shimmered under the fading sun, rippling like liquid glass. The city around her moved in slow motion, horns distant, footsteps muffled, light dissolving gently into evening. She thought of Daniel, his tired eyes, his daughter's photograph, the calm in his voice when he said goodbye. Maybe he had done what she couldn't. Maybe the truth would finally come to light. Or maybe not. Some endings weren't loud. Some justice came quietly like dawn. She closed the drawer, the red scarf hidden but glowing faintly beneath the wood. Then she turned off the light, and for a moment, she saw her own shadow on the wall, still there, but softer now, almost at peace. Outside, the river carried the last colors of the sunset away. And Lena realized that forgiveness wasn't surrender, it was survival. Because not every story ends in love, but every love leaves a story behind.